Hello everybody! It is finally time for an updated bookshelf tour. The last time I did a bookshelf tour was in 2012, so it has been 2 years since I've done one. The reason why I haven't done one is because they're just kind of a pain to do. They're a pain to film, they're a pain to edit, and just the whole process is just painful, okay? That's why I haven't done one, but today I'm going to be giving you one because it's been 2 years and you deserve one. Now before I get into it, I'm just going to let you guys know a little bit about my bookshelf. The first thing I'm going to let you guys know about is how many books I have on my bookshelf. I have a total of 182 books on this bookshelf. That is not all the books that I own. I need to set up my other bookshelf that I have. It's just in a box, but I haven't had the time or the motivation to actually set the bookshelf up, but that will be happening in the very near future. The second thing I'm going to let you guys know about is where I got my bookshelf and my overall review of my bookshelves. I got my bookshelves at Target for around $22. The bookcase itself is not very sturdy and the shelves actually tend to bend down because my books are so heavy and it just can't hold it. So I frequently have to flip this board over in order to keep it straight. But I couldn't pass up that $22 price tag because I'm all about that affordable lifestyle. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the organization system, because there is no organization system. Basically, the organization system that I used was try to get as many books as you can onto this bookshelf without it looking like crap. So that's basically the organization system that I use. But when I do end up setting up my second shelf, I'm sure that I will figure out a better organization system. Okay, I think that that's all the information I wanted to give you. But if you guys have any questions about my bookshelf, be sure and leave your questions below, and I will try my best to answer them. So without further ado, let's get started with our top shelf here. Okay, we're gonna start over here with the Mortal Instruments section. First we have the Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and finally we have the beast of a book that is City of Heavenly Fire. But seriously, this book is freaking massive. Also, it is signed. Next we have The Arithmetist by Brandon Sanderson, You by Austin Grossman, The Desert of Souls by Howard Andrew Jones, Storm Dancer by Jay Kristoff. Next we have Throne of Glass, which is the first in the Throne of Glass series. Then we have book 2 in the Throne of Glass series, which is Crown of Midnight. Then we have The Assassin's Blade, which is a bind-up of the Throne of Glass novellas. And the Throne of Glass series is by Sarah J. Maas. And then we have book 1 in the Fallen Kingdoms series, Fallen Kingdoms. Then we have the second book in the series, Rebel Spring, by Morgan Rhodes. Then we have The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, and The Diviners by Libba Bray. Next we have Daughter of Smoke and Bone, which is the first in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, Days of Blood and Starlight, both by Laini Taylor. Now we have shelf number 2, and it kind of looks like I have a dystopian section here, and I didn't realize that I did that, so that's kind of cool. First book we have here is Proxy by Alex London, and the second book, which got a cover change, is Guardian by Alex London. Next we have Unravel Me by Tahari Mafi, which is a part of the Shatter Me trilogy, and Ignite Me by Tahari Mafi, again a part of the Shatter Me trilogy. Next we have my all-time favorite dystopian trilogy. The first book being Legend by Mary Lou, the second being Prodigy by Mary Lou, and the last book Champion by Mary Lou. Next we have Divergent by Veronica Roth, Insurgent, the Collector's Edition by Veronica Roth, and Death by Veronica Roth. In other words, Allegiant. Then we have Control by Lydia Kang, The Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken, and Never Fade by Alexander Bracken. Next, it looks like we have another little section here that I did not mean to do, but technically I did because I like having my favorites together. I have a section full of my favorite authors. I can't necessarily say favorite books because I have yet to read a few of these books, just The Dream Thieves and The Near Witch, but yes, these are some of my favorite books slash favorite authors. First we have The Raven Boys, which is the first in the Raven cycle, and then we have The Dream Thieves, which is the second book in the Raven cycle, and both of these books are by Maggie Stiefvater. Next we have The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab, The Archived by Victoria Schwab, the Archived sequel, The Unbound, and Vicious by V.E. Schwab, who is Victoria Schwab. V.E. Schwab is just her pen name for her adult books. Next we have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and Hollow City, both by Ransom Riggs. And my copy of Hollow City is actually signed. Alright, we have shelf number 3 here now, and it looks like I've got another theme going on, kind of. We've got a contemporary section over here, and then some fantasy-ish books. Again, this is not planned organization, it just kind of happened. So let's start over here with my Rainbow Rowell section. First we have Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, and Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Noggin by John Corey Whaley. Then we have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which is signed. There's my J scribble. Then we have Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith, which has amazing pages Look at the sides of those pages. They're freaking yellow. Next, we have The Beginning of Everything by Robin Schneider. Then we have Who Done It, which is a collection of stories by a bunch of different authors. People like John Green, Maureen Johnson, Gail Forman, David Levithan, Lubba Bray, Lemony Snicket, Rebecca Steed, Lauren Miracle. So there's a whole bunch of different authors within this book. Then we have Winger by Andrew Smith, which has the best spine ever. Then we have Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews. And Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. Next we have When You Were Here by Daisy Whitney, Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delira, Panic by Lauren Oliver, Amelia Ann is Dead and Gone by Kat Rosenfield, Faking Normal by Courtney C. Stevens, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Then we have In the Shadows by Kirsten White and Jim D. Bartolo. Probably just butchered his name. I apologize. Half Bad by Sally Green, Sidekicked by John David Anderson, Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins, The Alchemist, The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel by Michael Scott, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, and The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. And I actually have 3 copies of this book. Long story short, I had ordered the paperback copy of this book, and then at Christmas I had received this from my aunt. She didn't realize that I had already bought the book, which is okay. And then I also bought the ebook because it was $1.99 on the Kindle Daily Deal one day, so why not, right? I mean, why not have an ebook copy and a hardback copy and a paperback copy? Yeah. All right, we are on shelf number 4, and as you can see, we have some more accidental organization. We have middle grade fantasy happening up here on this shelf. Apparently I was organizing my bookshelf when I put it together. I didn't think I was, but apparently I was. The first book we have is Five Kingdoms Sky Raiders by Brandon Mull. The School for Good and Evil by Somin Chanani. Oh man, butchering his name. Not even gonna try anymore. And then we have the sequel, The School for Good and Evil, A World Without Princes. Next we have the Rick Riordan section apparently. First here we have the Red Pyramid, The Throne of Fire, and The Serpent's Shadow, and these 3 books are a part of the Kane Chronicles. Next we have The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian, and these 5 books are a part of the Percy Jackson series. Next we have The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, and The House of Hades. These 4 books are part of the Heroes of Olympus series. And next we have the Harry Potter series, which unfortunately is sideways, so the castle isn't nice and pretty, but that's okay. It's still pretty, and they're still beautiful. I guess I'll show them to you now. First we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and finally Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And all of these books are by J.K. Rowling, of course. I'm sure that you knew that. And if not, where have you been? Where, oh where have you been? We have now reached the last shelf, which is my messy shelf, and I'm actually embarrassed to show this to you because of how messy it is. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, first we have The Pigman by Paul Zindel, Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie by Jordan Sonnenblick, and The Companion After Ever After by Jordan Sonnenblick. Fireweed by Jill Patton Walsh. Next we have the first in the Fablehaven series, Fablehaven. Book 2, Rise of the Evening Star. Book 3, Grip of the Shadow Plague. Book 4, Secrets of the Dragon Sanctuary, and Book 5, Keys to the Demon Prison. Next we have the first in the Nick and Tesla series, High Voltage Danger Lab. The second book, which is Robot Army Rampage, and the third, which is Secret Agent Gadget Battle. Then we have The Geek's Guide to Dating by Eric Smith. The first in the Tales from Lovecraft Middle School, Professor Gargoyle. Look at that creepy cover, so creepy. The second in the series, The Slither Sisters. Again, creepy cover. And the third in the series, Teacher's Pest. And each of these books are by Charles Gilman. Oh, creepy. Next we have Horton's Miraculous Mechanisms by Lisa Evans. Stardust by Neil Gaiman. Fly on the Wall by E. Lockhart. Next we have my paperback copy of Vicious, which is actually signed. It says, "To Jesse for being extraordinary." Then we've got Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll, and Beautiful Darkness by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll, the book that made me not want to read the rest of this series. And then we have Coraline by Neil Gaiman, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, Slide by Jill Hathaway, Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler, The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafon, and a bind-up of the Spiderwick Chronicles by Tony DiTerlizzi. I cannot even say his name. And Holly Black. Okay, so now I'm going to be moving on to this stack right here. First we have Lemony Snicket's Who Could That Be at This Hour? And Lemony Snicket's When Did You See Her Last? Both of these books are part of the All the Wrong Questions series. Then we have The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, and The Evolution of Mara Dyer, both by Michelle Hodkin. The Wild Things by Dave Eggers, William Shakespeare's Star Wars, and William Shakespeare's The Empire Striketh Back, both by Ian Doescher. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea by April Genevieve Tucholke. Guys, please don't make any snarky comments about me not being able to pronounce the names in the comments. Please. 172 Hours on the Moon by Johan Harstad. Asylum by Madeline Rue. In the Shadows of Blackbirds by Kat Winters. The Forsaken by Lisa M. Stassi. Frost by Marina Bear. The Replacement by Brenna Jovanoff. Quarantine by Lex Thomas. And Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. Alright, on the next stack, the first book we have is Lemony Snicket, File Under 13 Suspicious Incidents. This is a companion to the All the Wrong Questions series. Then I have Unite Me by Tahare Mafi, which is the novella bind-up of Destroy Me and Fracture Me. And then I have Shatter Me by Tahare Mafi. Next, I have The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And I'm sure that somebody's going to be wondering where Mockingjay and Catching Fire are, and I'm lending out Mockingjay, and Catching Fire just didn't make it on my shelf. It's sitting in a pile waiting for me to put up my other bookshelf. Then I have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Food, Girls, and Other Things I Can't Have by Alan Zadoff. My paperback copy of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, because you can never have too many copies of your favorite book. Then I have Delirium Stories by Lauren Oliver, which is a bind-up of the novellas Hannah, Annabelle, and Raven. Then I have Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem, all by Lauren Oliver. Then I have The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. The Spectacular Now by Tim Tharp. Paper Towns by John Green. Looking for Alaska by John Green. The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, and The Death Cure, each by James Dashner. Leviathan, Behemoth, and Goliath, each by Scott Westerfeld. And the last one on that stack is Pathfinder by Orson Scott Card. Alright, moving on to the last stack, we have Stuff Every College Student Should Know by Blair Thornburg, The Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan, Neil Gaiman's Speech, Make Good Art, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach, my paperback copy of The Book Thief, Struts and Frets by John Scroven, Hacking Harvard by Robin Wasserman, House of Ivy and Sorrow by Natalie Whipple, The Assassin's Curse by Cassandra Rose Clark, Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. King, Soon I Will Be Invincible by Austin Grossman, Skellig by David Almond, We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, Adverbs by Daniel Handler, Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac by Gabrielle Zevin, Hyperbole and a Half by Ali Broche, one of the funniest books I've ever read, The Bling Ring by Nancy Jo Sales, The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Unnatural Creatures, stories selected by Neil Gaiman, Where Things Come Back by John Corey Whaley, If I Stay by Gail Forman, the sequel Where She Went, again by Gail Forman, and the last book on my bookshelf is The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. Woohoo, vlog style going on here. So that was my bookshelf. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys soon with a new video. Later. Ha!